Hey everybody, we are back with a special episode of the Nintendo Pipeline podcast this week. I am very excited to host this one. I'm CMM, your host today. And with me, I have some members of the Smash Remix development team. Um, we're going to get into specifically Smash Remix version 1.3 because if you're listening to this right now, then it is out. It's available. You should download it, and we'll give you all the info on that. Um, but first, for anyone who doesn't know, Smash Remix is a very popular Super Smash Bros. N64 mod. You can play it on hardware or on emulator, and it adds a lot of new characters and features. So, without any further ado, if you guys could introduce yourselves and tell us what you do on the Smash Remix team.
I'm Justin, otherwise known as the Smash Father. I am the creator and project leader. I basically facilitate the project at this point. I code to some degree, not as much as I used to. Um, that's the main thing of what I do. And I review things, I make decisions, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's the basic stuff that I do.
And yeah, I'm Fray. I guess I'm the designer and gameplay developer for Remix, but I'm sort of just a jack of all trades. I'm usually kind of all over the place, sort of having a little bit of hand in everything. Uh, I like to kind of work with the artists and modelers and stuff and make sure that our kind of creative vision across the board is being executed correctly. And I do some like character programming stuff and moveset design and that sort of thing.
I'm Dominic. I'm the lead artist. I also mostly, I would say, lead animator because I do a lot of the animations for all the characters, but mostly modeling. But I also do a lot of like stage stuff. I make sure everyone's artwork that they want to add for like stages and stuff is also up to snuff, and make sure whatever they're animating is also looks good.
Sweet. So, this is a very packed release. We're probably not going to have the time to go through everything today, but I wanted to start by asking you guys just to kind of tell our viewers, what is Smash Remix, like in your own words. I mentioned it's a Smash 64 mod, but how would you guys describe it beyond that?
I would describe it as an enhancement, an improvement to some degree that keeps the original whole, but just adds to it. Our view is always to kind of not mess with the original format. We've never touched the original characters really in any way, besides adding specials to Kirby, things like that. But some people describe it as 64 DLC. I think that's not incorrect, but it's just a way of adding to some great content that we all loved, and making it just a little bit better and making freshening it up a little bit, but also keeping that original flavor too.
I mean, it's kind of like a love letter, right? It's something
Yeah.
that's like it's brought us all together. Like we're all friends now. We didn't know each other before we started working on Remix. Like pretty much no one. There's a couple cases, but like we've all gotten to know each other over the years of working on it, and like learned so much as well as individuals. Like I've seen both of these guys grow so much, just in terms of like our development over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been at this for quite a while. This is version 1.3, but what was the first public release? Point four? I don't even remember.
I don't
It was
remember
like
at this
point
point.
four or point five or something.
Yeah, it was probably
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, all,
And
all three of
Um,
us have pretty much been there like from the start too. Like
Uh,
I think Dom came on like a couple months in. We we found you on the models resource, right?
it
yeah.
was pretty quick.
I,
Yeah,
I
it wouldn't have been too long after our first release. It depends on when you want to start counting.
yeah.
I started working on it in like the winter of 2019, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So, and like I would just and like I
So
talked to Ben a lot, and we kind of started things going there. And
yeah, and
after
then
we released it, oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'll let you
After,
go,
after
Ben.
after the release, yeah, it was in the early summer. Dom came in and started working on stuff, and we were like immediately like, oh, this dude's really good. We gotta get him on board in a serious way.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
so yeah, since 2019, and my dumbass is kind of like, oh hey, 2019, that was like yesterday, but no, we're a little farther than that now. My brain's still in like 2020 as current year, um, so like
Yeah,
approaching 4 years now.
coming up on 4 years since like around the time Justin would have like first introduced himself to me.
Yeah, wow, that is a long time, and you guys have been essentially in continuous development more or less since then, and there's been a lot of characters and features added. Everything from Wario to Ganondorf to Sonic to Sheik is the most recent before this update.
And I
But
mean, the team of
also, yeah,
contributors has grown so much as well over
yeah,
those years.
yeah. I mean, if you play the game and finish, one of the one-player modes and go through the credits, there's a pretty large list of people who bring this together. It's a lot of work.
So I have a slight qualification for our original version was without we did not give an original version. So my initial release had had no numbering system on it.
Unversion.
And the first one to have one was the next one, which was 0.6, which was the
Okay.
Ganondorf Tournament Edition. But before that, we were just it was just nothing.
I mean, we've
I didn't
even
even have a
changed.
12.5.
We've changed how
original
we
was-
do the version numbering.
Yeah, the original one honestly was just source code. Like I just like there was an explanation on how to make the source code work, but like there was no just like simple release package. It was just like, hope you know how to use this.
That's great. I mean, yeah, you got to start somewhere. And now what we're at with this release, we're at 28 distinct like main characters essentially, and that's not including all the variants and you know additional stuff. And that's to say nothing about what 4 pages of stages now. It's a lot of content, new modes. Um, for the purposes of today, because there's a lot to talk about, we're going to
Yeah.
be talking primarily about the new characters that have been added in version 1.3, which are Marina Light Years and King DDD. Now, we can start with King DDD since I think he's kind of the more straightforward of the two, just in terms of what to talk about. A lot of people have been asking for another Kirby character. I know there's been people arguing in your YouTube comments about if Meta Knight can join or if DDD can join. What was the what was it that made you choose DDD as a character for the project?
Well, so
I
the
think
story
he's a-
goes. The cut characters, right?
Right.
Oh gosh, how could we ignore that?
I mean, that's the thing people will say anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of
'Cause
people
That
say
was
that.
definitely a factor. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was definitely. I'd say that's a fact. I wouldn't say that's not like. I think we definitely consider that, and we are happy to like get those supposed. Like, I guess it's the definitely
It's
cut
no, yeah,
characters.
yeah. It's pretty cool. He's the last
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
done.
It's like we
There was
just
that,
like
but there was also just like he's a fun character. I mean, he's an iconic character. He's in the later games, and I've always liked King DDD and Kirby a lot. So I just thought he would work well. I think that's just one of those things when you make these characters, you're like, they King DDD works in the later games. He does. I think he's a fun character. So when you consider characters for remakes, you're like, is it going to work well in 64?
Yeah.
And not every character is going to.
And then, like, if they're
So-
not going to, there's also always that kind of opportunity to sort of reimagine some aspects of them, or think about, what iteration of that character design maybe best reflects what was done in 64.
Right. It's a matter of making them a matter of if they're going to fit well in the context of Smash 64.
Yeah, and I think in the case of DDD as well, we all like pretty much liked his crystal shards design, and something that we've been talking about more recently in terms of character inclusions is, what can we do to sort of celebrate the N64 and its library of games? Because we've done a lot of that with like stages and stuff, but in this case, it was an opportunity to bring in that N64 DDD design that everyone remembers, and that's sort of the first time that design will be used in a Smash game or mod or anything like that.
Yeah, it was a really cool choice to go with the Crystal Shards look. I know it's also nice because it's sort of like relevant again now with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and how they kind of went back to that sort of idea for his look, and I think people are kind of seeing that for the first time recently in some cases. Um, in Smash Bros, because inevitably people are going to compare him to his later or his previous, I guess, incarnations in the Smash games. Um, let's talk a little bit about his moveset and his design philosophy. What were you really looking to have DDD play like?
We look to the. I mean, we look to the brawl. I think of all the future versions, we look to brawl the most as far as like, okay, what kind of stuff could he do? What should he do? Then we had to consider other factors. What's going to be most fun? If you'll notice with his down special, he doesn't just randomly toss DDDs or Gordos or whatever or Wild D's or whatever you want. He made a charge because we just want to cut out RNG. The game, our development, our play testers, we have a lot of competitive players, so that's a big part of our DNA, making it so it's like we try to reduce the RNG more so than perhaps the current version of Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah,
Or
and
whatever
they
would
did
do,
have a
so.
solution for that as they evolved its design in Smash by just making it the Gordo toss as well. But I really wanted to have those minions in because I think they're just funny and cute.
They're
But it was a really
fun.
big. It was a really big thing for me that yeah, like no randomness on that, and that extends just beyond the charging mechanic too. Is their behavior as well. The Waddle Dees and the Waddle Dees, they don't take any random actions. It's always predictable. They choose to do an attack when they're within a certain range of an opponent, and I think that was executed pretty well. A lot
Right.
of fun to play around with.
Yeah, I mean, just watching him kind of as he evolved from like the first iteration that was sent out to playtesters to his final version, that was very much there immediately. It was just having the three minions that were always predictable when they came out, and always had that certain behavior. And I agree with you that, like, yeah, they're cute. Like, it's I think a lot of people don't really think, like, when you have someone who's maybe like, oh, I'd love if this character were in, or whatever. Not only are you representing the character, you're representing the series as well. um and I think, have making sure you have more than just Gordo. Having the D's and the do's adds a lot as well.
I love the way they look as well. That was something
Yes.
Mhm.
Dom did. Like it's like a
He nailed
pre-rendered
it.
model.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, they're
It's
very cute.
like the Pokemon, right?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
Yes,
basically the same thing.
Yeah.
they're essentially billboarded um sprites, right?
yeah,
Is that
but
correct?
in order to do that, like you had to like make high poly models for them, right? And then
Yeah, I made like new like models that were like way higher poly than the original 64 one, and basically just applied the 64's textures and then baked them down to smaller like sprite sized little images. Then
Right.
Halo did all the coding to make all that work, but
yeah,
Yeah, that
they're
would
they're
be that's Halo Factory.
yeah.
yeah, Halo Factory, one of the newer developers, and yeah, picked up a lot of the slack on the coding in this patch. Like a lot of the DDD coding for the specials was Halo and Justin's work. And the minions are sort of like an evolved Conquer grenade. Because the Conquer grenade is like the same type of object, and it has like a lot of the base stuff put down there. And then from there, he was able to go in and add all those new behaviors for the minions. They
Right.
turned out really awesome.
And for those who don't know, Conquer is one of the playable characters in Remix. His down special is the grenade, and he throws it and explodes. You can kind of change the angle, and the distance that it's tossed, and that applies for the minions as well.
Yeah, and then just like the mechanics of whacking it around with attacks as well, and
Right.
the way it like bounces when it connects with people, and all those sort of little things.
There's a lot of funny interactions that can happen with the minions that I think makes it they feel very dynamic and fun.
Yeah, we had this moment in the trailer where I was recording gameplay for the trailer with Dark Horse, who's our video editor for the trailers most of the time, and uh, it was just like you'll see it in the trailer. I like spiked him into a falling Waddle Dee, and then the Waddle Dee like hit him off of the stage twice, and then I smacked it with the hammer. It was, it was like hilarious. I like lost it laughing for like a whole minute. I was just like, oh, I love this character, man.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of fine tuning, even through the play testing process. Like, I just want to really stress that, like, some people kind of just think that characters are made out of magic or something, and that they just, all of a sudden they're done. It's very much a like an iterative process, and I'm sure even beyond what playtesters see, putting them together and seeing as they slowly come to their final form.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of sped up over the years in terms of like getting a first pass on a moveset done, just because we've gotten like quite familiar with how the moves on the original cast work. And so
right.
when we add moves to a new character, we're immediately executing them in that style and getting like pretty close. But you end up making a lot of changes just through the iteration process to how that kit fits together cohesively.
Yeah.
And just making adjustments where needed. I remember like the first pass on DDD's down air, it lasted for like a second, and everyone was
Yeah.
complaining that it lingers way too long.
It was a
was
little
what,
bit too
32
long.
I
frames?
kind of miss it. It was
I kind of do
ridiculous.
too. It was
It was
very
fun.
funny. You have his hammer out for
Oh,
like a while, and someone would just happen to tap it and just spike.
another
Yeah.
great little thing about DDD's moveset development was his up smash hammer has that sort of sour spot hitbox that spikes you. Usually,
Yes.
like that back hit, it would just be like a little weak knock away, but it's a spike for DDD. And the reason that happened was because Jim, who does a lot of the first moveset pass stuff along with me, copied the hitboxes from down air when he was making the up smash. He's, I'll copy his hitboxes, then change the properties. And he just saw it spiking, and he thought, "Oh, that's hilarious! I'll keep it in." And he thought I was gonna hate it and remove it, but I'm just like, "Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, I think
We'll
that's
go
very
for it."
fun. That's very unique, um, for
Yeah,
that
it kind of
to
reminds me
happen.
of like Mario's down B spike or something.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that you don't necessarily like expect, and then it happens. You're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's great. I know, at least on the playtester side, for a while those minions, man, they caused a lot of fun crashes and fun shenanigans. uh, I know we had the master hand thing going on for a bit, where it would like to crash the game when Waddle Doo did his beam attack. Figuring all that stuff out, I'm sure, was maddening for you guys.
Yeah, again, that was like mostly Halo just having to like go back and figure out what went wrong. But he did a good job just like being able to find and identify all of those bugs and fix them up, and it's pretty much all in good shape now. But yeah, they were troublesome little fellas for a bit there.
What else about DDD's moveset? We talked a lot about the minions. We mentioned a couple of his other attacks. What other things do you find interesting about DDD or that stand out about the character, especially in Remix versus his other appearances?
I would say it's like an interesting fusion of sort of the way his design was iterated across the Smash games. Like there is a lot of brawl stuff in there, but we did choose to bring over some things that had been done in like Smash 4, right? Like the down tilt.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a Smash 4 down tilt.
Yeah, that's where he's smug laying down and does that roll. It's so
Yeah,
Good
that
good.
one.
call.
That's a fun one to use. I can't there for a while it was like pushing you off of edges. I don't know if that ended up staying in or not, or if that
It's still
was
in there.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
still,
That's in
yeah.
there.
So every time you use that like next to an edge, you just fall off afterwards, which is something that like kind of happens with like Link's dash attack too and Kirby's forward smash. And it can be kind of fun if you do that down tilt and you're just kind of like mashing A afterwards. You might just like fall off the edge and down air them immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I initially was kind of wondering like maybe it shouldn't, but that I believe in the final version, it's a 3 frame um attack. Like it's a very good like get off me
Oh yeah,
sort of
yeah. It
tool.
comes out frame 3. I
Yeah.
just I just did that for my like first pass on the attack, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I
And
think it's
yeah,
kind of great that you will just fall off. You can't just like mash it over and over again.
and he's a heavy character too, so like it's very good for counterattacking when people get those like weaker hits on you at lower percents.
Right. Yeah. And he also has his own version of the inhale, which obviously Kirby has, but DDD's is different, behaves differently. Obviously, he can't copy their powers. Um, but that was sort of its own thing because he can walk.
Yeah,
Uh,
he can walk around with you, and he can absorb a projectile and shoot a star back out.
Yes. Yeah, that
I
that
was
I liked.
honestly surprised how well that worked. I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be a nightmare, but it's honestly was far less problematic. I mean, because especially compared with the Waddle Dees and Doos, it
Right.
was pretty easy.
Yeah.
We had some deliberation and troubles going on with determining exactly how the mashing out of the inhale should be
Oh
balanced and
yeah,
how many inputs it should take and sort of what the formula should be. I think we eventually settled on something that works pretty well, but you do got to be careful with that because you don't really want to encourage that strategy too much of just inhaling someone and walking off the stage with them.
Right. Yeah. Um
Although I
so
do remember fondly doing that to Little Max on For Glory back in Smash 4.
Yeah, that's always fun. Also, the cargo carries too off the side of the stage are always fun. It's kind of
Yeah.
a similar thing.
It's
Uh,
one of those things, it's really funny the first like dozen times it happens.
yeah,
Uh, but then eventually it just kind of becomes annoying. And so you need to have that built-in counterplay of
yeah.
like, oh, I can just mash out of this. So it's not a real thing, but it's like a funny little thing. If someone's not ready for it, that you can always pull out on them.
What do you so some people may not know, but there is a tournament scene for Smash Remix specifically on top of the standard Smash 64 scene. What are you hoping to see from DDD in tournament? Do you guys have any ideas of how he's going to kind of fit in with everyone? Just hunches, I guess, based on the testing so far.
I kind of expect people will think he's not very good
Mm-hmm.
because he's not the most intuitive or simple character. People will probably have to adjust a little bit to playing around those like minions and that sort of thing. But against competitive players, what I found is it's really not that big of a deal. Some people have said they find it annoying, but if you're just throwing out moves, then most of the time you're going to hit them away and even back towards DDD, and then they can hit him, and he has to
Yeah.
do something to respond to that, and it gets really hectic and funny.
What
Uh,
what's really
I hope
fun, yeah.
someone makes him work competitively. I think Jaime's got a good shot at it.
Yeah,
Seems well
Jaime's
suited to his sort of play style.
Jaime is wild. That the stuff that Jaime posts in they're just like combos and like stuff that they do. It's like it makes my mind hurt. Um, and I think it's too. Yeah, we didn't mention it before, but the way that the DDD can do the hammer and interact with the minions, I think feels a lot more fun in this version of him because a lot of it is like you can pull out the D and then smack them across the stage and it like snipes someone in the face, right? Like it's so
Yeah, but they can also put out their move to hit him back towards
right.
you, and it can turn into like a game of tennis or something
Yeah, and then you
with the
have the
minions.
D's who jump and all kinds of different factors that are
Oh,
that are at play.
I remember in one of my first play tests with DDD, I was playing like Pikachu against DDD, and just like while DDD was on the other side of the stage doing his minion stuff, I just did like a full Pikachu like 6-hit combo on one of the minions for fun, and I just lost it. I love that he can do that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so there is another character that I really want to spend some time talking with because I personally feel that this character may be the most like I don't want to say complex in the sense of like too difficult to play, but there are a lot of systems and firsts going for this character, and it is also a fan favorite character, and that is Marina Light Years. Um, so I guess first question is, are you guys Mischief Maker fans? Like, is that what made you kind of want to bring this character in, or was there something more about the
Dom.
Yeah.
character?
Mostly me. I think
Okay.
I'm the only person out of us here that have actually like played through the game. I think
Yeah,
Ben
I've
dabbled
played
in
Okay.
it a
around
bit.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played around with it, but yeah, I haven't played through it yet.
I played the first level one time when I was in the fourth grade, and I didn't care for it, and that was the end. End of story. End of
Yeah.
Mischief Maker's experience.
And now she's here. Now
I mean,
she's here
And now
anyway.
she's here.
that's kind of the thing with that game. You need to play more than one level because every level is like its own deal, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a very unique game. I love Treasure in general, so it's cool, and it's again what you were saying earlier. It's very representative of the N64. Marina is very much an N64 character only.
Yeah, exactly. Within the 64 community is like the Smash 64 community as well. I've seen that character's name come up sort of again and again over the years. Because like a lot of those guys in the competitive 64 community are people who grew up playing N64. Uh, and for most people, like if they played that game, they like that game. It's
Yeah.
it's a cult classic. And yeah, I really admire the design of that game. I think Marina's a cool character. But yeah, definitely the catalyst of all that was Dom's passion for it and wanting to kind of will it into existence. And yeah, he got me on board, and then off to the races. Took a
Yeah.
long time. We were sort of like on and off with their development as we like worked on other things. Like I think the first like
It's a
Marina
year in the
development
making.
happened like a year ago. Yeah.
Oh
And then
wow.
we like kind of immediately stopped because we were approaching like Sonic uh needing to come out, and we had to put our attention on that. So it sort of happened in phases, but yeah, it originally started all the way back a year ago, yeah. So it's been a long time coming.
So
And
Marina is a very special character in this game just because of a lot of her attributes. How would you describe Marina and her game plan right now? Like what is it that makes Marina tick?
Gotta be a grappler. She's like a
Yeah,
100% a grappler in my mind.
Yeah.
yeah,
She
that's
has the
what it
command
seems to be.
grab, which is unique. I don't think there's any other Smash 64 character that has a command grab.
Nope.
well, there are, but they're not sort of as fleshed out. Like Captain Falcon's up B is a command grab,
Right,
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah.
and you
None,
do
none
like
where
you
you
do
could like,
use that.
Technically,
none
I
Yeah.
where you
mean,
could like throw in 4 directions. Like that's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But like when
Yeah.
I talk to people about 64 who don't play the game, but they know about like fighting game stuff, sometimes I'll tell them like, Captain Falcon is kind of the closest thing we have to a grappler because he really does play for the grabs in competitive play. That's like his big combo starter, and then that up B as well is a huge killer. And so he's a very grab oriented character, but Marina's a way different take on that. He's got this like slow sort of traditional command grab where she dashes at you, and it does all these different things. And then as well as that, she's got the DK kind of cargo mechanic where you can pick people up and carry them around, which is another thing that's like very much just a nod to Mischief Makers. You can pick them up, carry them around, and then press B and you'll shake them, and that's the thing like everyone knows about Mischief Makers, right? It's the shake.
Yep. Yep.
So
And
we had to get that in there somewhere.
yeah, you have the grappling mechanic with the four directions, both on the ground and in the air. I think that's worth mentioning too. Um, because yeah, it's there's not another move in the game that works like that to this point. Um, and you guys really nailed kind of just the feeling of Mischief Makers in the game, not only with the grabs but also with her clan pot.
yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Her clan pot system is very interesting. I guess if one of you guys wants to kind of talk about what the design philosophy was for that.
Ben knows the most about that.
No, okay.
He's
Well,
Maxim, yeah.
we'll get to that in a second then. But um, what do you guys think was the most difficult part of implementing Marina? Like what I know you guys were working on her for like a year on and off. Um,
so we had a lot of good ideas, and that's what you get a lot in these situations. You're making a character. You got a great idea. You got you got the clan pot. You got the grappling. You got this. You got that. But where it gets challenging is making that all come together. How
right.
does that? How do they all interact? Because you can make a character. I mean, Marina took a long time. And there were iterations of it early on where I was like, "Is this gonna work?" You know, I was just like, "I don't know about this." This could be a challenging character. Now, she's come together really well, and it's a complex character. I think it's a character that you need to like let marinate to learn, which I think is great to add. Because you can't have everyone be just the pick up and play variety. I think this is a character that people will be able to experiment and have fun with and just learn. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, just waiting for things to come together and just making that all mesh so it works and it isn't cheap or unfun, you know.
yeah. So a big part of that is her clan pot, and I know Ben, you're kind of the one to ask about kind of the philosophy and the design of that. What was your thinking with that system?
Yeah, well, originally we had this group chat with me and Dom and Dark Horse as well, because Dark Horse is a huge Mischief Makers fan,
Yeah,
and so we sort of went over ideas for what the specials could be. Uh, and obviously I hadn't played the game before, but like they threw out the idea of uh, this clan pot item, and I thought, yeah, that sounds cool. You know, you grab it and you grab projectiles, you shake it up, you get a gem. Maybe maybe if you get a couple projectiles, you get a stronger gem, and that's sort of what the original philosophy for the move was, and what we had it recorded down as for like that first like 8 months or something.
I would say almost a year. It was like that.
That's what the idea was, and then when we went to implement it, that's how it worked, and like it felt like it was going well, and we had this idea of like you can pick up an item and put it in there. That's cool. Uh, but when we got to like testing that, for a while, it felt okay, but something like felt like it wasn't quite there. And was it? It was one of our testers. Was it? It was like Frank, right?
I think it was
yeah,
Frank. Yeah.
He suggested
Yeah.
like there's these other items that come out of the pot, and we were kind of already like, oh man, we've put so much time into developing this already. Uh, but it was one of those like moments where it feels like the move isn't quite working. It's not gelling with the kit. And it sort of just came together in a really nice way. It was like a rescue mission on
yeah,
that move, on that aspect of the kit. Let's do these items. Halo Factory made the shuriken and the bomb, and I did the boomerang, and we got it all in, and it started to feel like it was gelling better, and they were really fun to use. And then it was like okay, but how do I get them? I can only absorb projectiles. So what about if I'm playing against a character that doesn't have them? Now I just can't do it at all, but I want to use my fun items. And then I remembered we had this idea, in Mischief Makers, you pick people up and you shake them like NPCs and they'll drop a gem. Uh, and I think the original idea for implementing that was just if they're holding an item, they'll drop it, which would be fun. But instead, what we did is they drop a gem like like an NPC in Mission Makers. It's just a weak blue gem. That's how we kind of kept that system of the different strengths of gems, and now it sort of all just came together in a really really nice way. And it was sort of that missing piece I feel like with their gameplay. And as soon as that went in, like it sort of felt like everything had come together uh, in a way that just felt like way more cohesive than before. And I was really happy about that.
yeah. I very strongly agree with that. I mean, I remember the first iteration of Marina that was given to playtesters versus her final form, and it's such a radically different evolution for that character.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and I know Frank was like, "You got to do those other items. You got." And I was like, "They're not gonna do the other items. Come on!" And then one day it was just like, "Yep, here they are." I'm like, "Oh crap! All right."
Yeah, and then like around that same time as well, I think I made some changes to like her down air and forward air.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Her
it made
down
new
air had been
moves.
like,
Those.
yeah, her down air was like a double kick, kind of like a Lucario down air in Smash, and that was like fun, but it just like didn't feel quite right. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was sort of all that stuff came together around the same time, and it kind of transformed the character into feeling like kind of like clunky, and like some things weren't gelling and maybe a little all over the place, to like this is what we're looking for. It's like a cohesive character and everything just like works and it feels great.
Yeah, so on top of, absorbing projectiles and, shaking enemies to get their, to make them drop the blue gem, Marina can also put whatever item she's holding into her pot, and depending on what the item is, you get different charge levels, which I think is very fun. Um,
Yeah,
Going through all of that stuff, like if you put a bomb in there, she's gonna get her level 4 bomb immediately. Um, how was it for you guys, like when you decided to to implement that thing, was that sort of a detail that you decided right off the bat that not every item can be the same charge level?
No, no, it was all the same charge level at first, and like for a while.
Yeah.
That was another thing that came from discussing with the playtesters, and I was sort of like, "Oh, that sounds annoying. I don't feel like doing this." But I think I gave you guys like a big list of all the items and said like, "Someone go through this and tell me how much each of them should
Yep.
be worth in charge levels." And I think you took on a lot of that.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
fun. That was
and that
that was that
that
was
gave me
interesting.
the push and the motivation I needed to kind of go through with that, and I think it was the right choice ultimately. It does add
Yeah.
like one more layer of complexity and depth to how that move interacts with the game as a whole.
Yeah,
But
I
I
would
think it's for
strongly
the
agree.
better.
Absolutely. Um, Marina also has a multi jump because of her thrusters. She has
Yeah.
a lot of cute voice clips. You guys went with the Japanese version of Marina for remix. I'm just curious why you guys chose that version. I know some people have an affinity for the English version. What was it about the Japanese acting that stood out
Oh,
to
you
you?
know, keep a lookout. You might hear that English version.
Yeah,
Try
you
hard
you
enough.
might. You
Might
might.
just pop in somewhere.
Yeah. I
I,
guess
I
I
mean
think
we'll rephrase.
we
Yeah.
discussed that a lot, right, Dom? Like the English and
yeah, we kind of went
Japanese.
back and forth. The first, I originally was going to just do the English voices, but when I was like going over them and hearing them, I thought they sounded like the English voice actor for Marina sounds like a '90s game voice actor in English, so it's not very like well dubbed. She
Right.
sounds like she sounds very stilted in like a lot of her lines, a lot of her deliveries.
There's also
So
just like kind of less material, right?
yeah, there's like I don't know if there's less voice lines, but there's less that's like we could use in whatever context we would kind of want. The Japanese one was like better voice acted. She sounded a lot less annoying in my opinion, and like a lot of it we could just like use wherever we kind of saw fit because it was a little bit more generic.
Yeah, it was just easier to pull from that material and adapt it to Smash. Even in some cases, like cutting up bits of clips and using them, like I think like her sleep or stun sound or something like that, just like a little piece of one of the voice lines.
Yeah,
Wolf was
yeah,
like that too.
Yeah,
Um, I would have loved to use Wolf's Nintendo 64 sounds and voices, but not enough sounds.
yeah,
Sometimes
it's
we
it's
go through.
it's this thing like people have that like nostalgia for those iconic like English voices, but in terms of like adapting the character to Smash and just getting a full set of audio when all we really have to work with is like archival, audio that we can pull from these old games. It just makes sense to use whatever performance has the greater breadth of material that is applicable to our design.
yeah. And also, when you think of Smash 64 as a whole, a lot of the voices were not changed for like English. Like Fox is still like the Japanese Star Fox 64 voice actor.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
very true.
that's like the only one where they would have a different voice actor for English, but I think it just fit a lot more with like the vanilla cast too, I think.
The one example is like Jigglypuff. They did localize that one,
Oh yeah.
but they like you kind of have to because it's like the anime
Yeah.
and everything. Uh,
That one's
but in
almost
terms
that's
of
kind of yeah.
just like even the first two Smash games as well, if you look at like Melee as well, um, Japanese voice actors because it's a game made in Japan, and for the most part they just keep that when they localize it, and so it does feel a bit more authentic as well to use the Japanese voice acting, even if we are Western developers and we have that nostalgia for what we grew up with on other game localizations. It does kind of like from a authenticity point of view, it makes more sense to use those Japanese takes. Uh, and it varies person to person how much you care about that,
Yeah,
but it
sure.
is something to think about for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for obviously I'm not an unbiased party, but I think it came together pretty well. She sounds like she should to me. I hope people will agree too as they try out the new release. Um, where do you see her sort of fitting in competitively? Like what do you see as her strengths or her uniqueness? What does she bring to the table?
Well, Ben, competitive player.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking about it. I think she's another character that people are going to struggle with making work at first. But I hope that's like a thing that people like. Because something people have, complained about before with remix characters is that, they feel too intuitive or too easy to pick up and play. And I think some of that is just a bias that comes from being a really competitively informed character with years of experience. Like you can just pick up a new character and figure out what the good parts of their kit are really quickly. But we do have like, like Conquer was kind of like unintuitive feeling on release, and it took people a while to kind of figure out what the right things to do with him are. And I think for competitive players, that's a really fun kind of puzzle to figure out when a character does have that depth and that difficulty to learn. There aren't like the easy bread and butter combos that you can quickly develop, and you sort of have to figure out how to use them more effectively, and maybe can't just like pick them up and be good with them straight away. And so I hope people enjoy learning how to use Marina. But I do imagine probably like DDD, people aren't going to think she's very good, and she might be kind of unpopular competitively ultimately. But we'll see. I think she's really fun and unique, and I hope people like her. And I hope someone out there pushes her movement too, because she can do a lot of cool stuff with those double jumps. They're very unique.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'd like to add is like obviously I'm a tournament operator, Ben's a competitive player, one of the best. But competitive stuff's important. We take that in consideration, but at the end of the day, it's all about making something that's fun that people enjoy and
Yeah,
find memorable. So,
Yeah.
that's just that's the ultimate thing we consider when making characters.
yeah. Being like a moveset designer, like I generally try to avoid thinking about how a character will work in competitive play as much as possible, because I don't feel like that was integrated into the design philosophy of the original game too heavily.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just more of a focus on like, let's look at each move and try to make it feel like a Smash 64 move, and then like hopefully this just comes together into a character that feels cohesive and fun. And if it doesn't, that's when we do that further iteration in the playtesting process and kind of refine the things that aren't working.
Right. I mean, I'm someone who's not a competitive player at all. So when I'm testing out stuff, I'm mostly looking to see like, oh, does this character feel good or feel fun or feel satisfying for my dumbass to play as, right?
Yeah,
And so yeah, Marina I think evolved into that.
yeah,
Um,
that's exactly the thing with like those new items that come out of the clan paw, right? All those different
yes.
items, like those are all super satisfying moments, no matter what skill level you're at. Working up to getting that item you're looking for out of the pot and using it, or like landing that neutral B command grab uh, on a shielding opponent, right? Like
Right.
those, or like like connecting with someone off stage on a read and spiking them down with the command throw. Like those are all things that like everyone can figure out how to do and everyone can enjoy. And those are like the moments in our gameplay that kind of like stand out.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of saying it. There are a lot of those, like each character really does have those kind of big moments with certain moves and timings with when they're in their kits. Like DDD, I feel like the down air spike is just, it feels so good and satisfying to
For
be
me,
able to
it's the
hit that.
dash attack, and I didn't really necessarily expect that,
A
but that
dash is
feels
fun.
oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, the dash is pretty
Yeah,
good for
I
DDD.
agree, Ben. I think about that too. The
When
dash
you when
attack
you
is
like
huge.
knock someone down and they tech roll away and you just dash attack straight at them and catch them,
Yeah,
they
getting
go
the timing.
flying
Uh,
off the screen. It feels so good. Yeah, big like slow wind up moves like that are always a great time. There's a reason so many people remember Falcon Punch and that sort of thing so
Yeah,
fondly.
yeah, absolutely. That's like the big moment of Smash 64 is the
Yeah.
Falcon Punch. So we've talked a lot about characters today, but there's a lot more going on in version 1.3 than Marina and DDD, although those are obviously like some big additions. We've got some new stages, modes, all sorts of stuff. So I guess what I want to ask you guys is, what other stuff, if you could each pick something, um, in this release that you really hope that people check out, that isn't necessarily at the forefront of what's shown in the trailer and what's apparent on first boot up. What would you guys pick?
it's tough. I don't want to. Do you
I
guys
think
have
tripping's
something
the
that
best
springs to
feature.
mind?
Tripping has to be the best feature we've added to spell,
Tripping.
in my opinion.
Tripping, yeah, and the new pitfall item as well that Halo
Oh,
Factory
yeah.
added in. That's a great time.
Pitfall might be the most fun addition.
Pitfall is super fun. I like it because it actually makes the like star show up on the ground like in Animal Crossing when you actually bury one. Like it's visible on stage. Um, that was a nice touch.
And then the level 10 CPU as well. That's
Yes,
a big one.
they're evil.
It's another one that Halo Factory did.
Yeah, the level 10 CPUs, I like to describe them as being kind of an AI with a human touch, a little bit of a human touch. They start doing stuff to you and you're like, all right, guy. Especially the spaceys.
Yeah, and that is a feature that like Halo has said he doesn't feel done with yet. So that's something that we can expect to kind of continue to grow and evolve in how those level 10s are implemented. And look forward to seeing them just get even stronger in future releases.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
One thing we haven't mentioned that I think we should is Young Link.
Yes.
Oh,
We did
yeah.
a huge redesign. I don't know if you. I'm getting ahead of anything here, but Dom did an excellent job. Took some serious effort to make that mirror shield.
Yeah.
Ben revised it, and I think made it a character that feels, especially the up special, it just feels a little bit better. It's the bomb chew. I think it makes the character more unique. It makes the character more fun. I think people are gonna, you know, some people might think it's a nerf initially, but it's really more of a lateral move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I'd love to
that
talk more
mirror
about
shield
that.
and razor sword, that's something we talked about all the way back when in like 2019 when we were first working on Young Link. That was the original idea, is like he'll have those Majora's Mask weapons, but at the time we didn't have the tools necessary to like pull off the look of that mirror shield correctly. And we ended up just going with the Ocarina of Time appearance and the way the Majora's Mask referencing manifested itself was with that golden hook shot
Right.
ultimately.
And
But
now,
yeah, now we saw this opportunity. Young Link's having this whole kit sort of revision and redesign going on. So let's throw in the model update to sort of let people know things have changed. It feels like the most fitting time if we were ever going to do that. This is the time to do that. And he doesn't have that golden hook shot anymore because he just has a normal grab now. But you will still see that Majora's Mask glove coming through with his new sword and shield,
yeah,
and
and I mean,
and that strap over his shoulder too.
yes, yeah, that's also great. I mean, I think it's awesome that you guys kind of just went hard on some of the Majora's Mask stuff, and you're right that that visual sort of refresh kind of also signifies, he's different now.
Yeah, and just like in terms of gameplay stuff, just I'll go over it really briefly. His old kit kind of served as like he was miniature Link, and
Right.
his playstyle in a lot of ways was pretty similar as a zoner. He was just sort of doing the same thing but better. And people have complained about the character in the past. Like I think some people didn't like playing against him. I don't know if that'll change now. I hope it will. Uh, but ultimately, the goal was just to kind of transition him into a sort of more unique playstyle from Link and push him in that direction of being like a rush down character who wants to get aggressive and up in your face, and less of a defense oriented character, which is the purpose Link already serves in the base cast.
Yeah. He's definitely a lot more. He has a lot more personality, I feel like. And the bomb shoe was just a lovely touch.
Yeah,
Um,
and it really serves that playstyle nicely too, because it's something that you can run in with.
right.
And that's sort of the best use for it, is to come in with it and kind of choke out your opponent's options. And yeah, I think it works pretty well, and I'm happy with Young Link's changes.
Yeah, I hope people will check him out as well. I guess too, while we're on this note, there is another type of character that showed up in this version. Um, we have the first new polygon fighters.
Yeah,
So
and I feel like that's something that it was in the FAQ of like we'll never do this, right?
yeah,
There's a few nevers that are happening. We're working on the AI, we're like working on the polygon characters. It's all happening.
so what tipped you over the edge? What was it? What made you decide you're all right? We're gonna do these.
Maybe just like it's
No.
been like almost 4 years and we're running out of things to do, things to tackle. So we're kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel a little bit on, like what we can do to make it feel complete. Because like we've all across the development, we've done stuff like that, right? Like Kirby hats was a big thing
Right.
of like
Mhm.
originally we weren't gonna do it, but then it was like, I mean, we should do it, right? And it just those things kind of creep up on you, and then also just that that drive to do it coming from these newer developers that have joined the team more recently, like Halo Factory. Uh, and then just to segue off of that, in terms of new developers, we also have a new lead musician now, Pringles, who's done an amazing job this patch cycle of really freshening up our music, which I feel like was an area that we were sort of falling behind in before. It maybe wasn't always quite up to the same standards that we've been pushing for like our characters and stages and new modes and that sort of thing. And he's just done a bang up job updating a bunch of old tracks, bringing in new tracks, working with other musicians, and really sort of just fulfilling that role that we ended up giving him at the end of this patch cycle. And I would strongly encourage people to check out all of the music that's been added and updated in this patch, because there are like no misses as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You may be surprised with an old track you loved. You may love it even more this time.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
I I can absolutely, like, just seeing Pringles work this cycle is just incredible. It's like, okay, guys, I got something else. Oh, all right. Oh, look, a new song got added. Who did it? Pringles? Yeah, okay.
And I mean, we've had great music contributions in the past as well. Like my new soundtrack has done so many great ones.
Yeah.
He recently departed from the project. We thank him for his contributions over the years.
It's going into retirement, unfortunately, from Smash Remix. He
From
left on
Smash
good
Remix,
terms, but he
yeah,
just
yeah,
has a kid now, and he's a kid and he's busy. It happens.
Yeah, life happens.
Yeah.
But there is a significant amount of new and tweaked music in this update. Um,
yeah.
I
And
re-
I would expect that to continue going forward as well. Uh,
yeah, I know
he
for me,
seems
like,
very much motivated to kind of get the whole ordeal, in
Well,
check
he
to
doesn't
what
sleep
he
anymore.
I don't know
yeah,
when
Just
he
works on
sleeps.
Smash Remix. I mean, if you guys saw this guy, he's a machine. I don't know how
I
he
feel like
does it.
he's
He makes
online every
music
time
and
I.
he's testing. He's
Yeah,
really a great add to the team, and
yeah.
he's kind of created a cultural shift on the team, to be honest.
spamming
Oh
memes,
yeah.
Yeah, there's that too.
we
I
got
mean,
the way she goes, and we got Travis
it
touchdown
it
all over the
it,
place.
it feels, yeah, it feels to me sort of like when we like brought Dom onto the team all those like years ago, and he kind of like it
yeah.
was immediately clear like, oh, this guy is like great, and he's like just kind of putting himself into this role that feels like, oh, this is like the leader of the art team, like it's just obvious, give him the title. And like that's happening with the music now, and it's really exciting. uh just seeing all aspects of this project elevated to even higher levels.
Yeah, he just has such a good attitude um about, what he does. And not to get too specific, but like, he's a young guy. He is extremely talented, even more so when you consider his age and his life experience. It's just wild to me. Um
I also want to shout out like Dom again, just for the amount of animations he made for this patch, like both characters. uh
Well, I
just
mean,
like,
why even just this patch?
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, just
uh,
in general,
You
like
might
I because
might
I
as well do
I've
every
only
patch.
I've only done that whole thing like with like Marth's cape and like Mad Piano, who has two joints, and like making the full animation sets for those characters was enough of a pain for me. And to have done that for like a character like Marina, just the amount of work that goes into that is, it's insane. And
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for your willingness to do that. And it's, I mean,
It
they,
helped that I wanted to see her in the game so bad.
yeah,
Mhm.
Well, I think that's like a lot of people really not. I don't want to say it like, oh, people don't appreciate, because I mean, some people genuinely do not understand or know what goes into the creation of stuff like this. Some people think it's this magic, like I said earlier,
It
this sort of magic button or something that this
it
character should
depends
sort of.
on the character too, because some of them can like reuse like general animations from a character that has like a rig that matches theirs closely enough. But for these
Right,
like more unique characters like DDD and Marina, they can't pull anything from existing animations. And the set of animations for a character is like it's like 150 of them or something.
That
Yeah,
sounds
it's like
It's
about
around
right.
that.
just absurd. It's so much more than most people would think. Like one I always like to point to is like for getting hit by attacks. There's like 20 different animations.
There's like locational animations for getting hit by attacks,
Yeah,
which I never knew in Smash existed
yeah,
until
yeah.
after I joined Remix.
Exactly. I didn't know either until we started doing those. It's like there's like 3 different animations for getting hit in the head before you get knocked down by attacks, which
right.
happens at like 40%. And, and then multiply that by, hitting the body, hitting the feet, hit by a move that knocks you upwards.
Hit in the air.
Yeah,
And which
it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah,
shows how much you save by doing a clone character, because it's like you're at least maybe cutting 50% of those animations
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's ridiculous. Uh,
and did not even to say nothing about, like, the whole game is written in assembly. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on code wise. I know Kathy is very particularly eager about some of that stuff. Um, and it's just sort of wild to see, like, even just something added that was small this time is that you can use the D-pad for a lot of stuff now. Um, and the amount of time and detail and work that went into that is just
yeah, every little
incredible.
feature is like a labor of love.
Yeah,
You know, like sometimes stuff is easier than you might think, and then sometimes things that you think seem simple are ridiculous. It just like it you never know when you're, reverse engineering the code and trying to just make it work.
yeah.
There's always unexpected challenges. It's a constant like puzzle, you know.
Yeah. As we kind of get to the end here, um, I want to let people know where it is they can find Smash Remix, what they need to play it, where they can find updates from you guys. What are the best places for that?
As far as updates, you're going to be looking to our Twitter account or our Discord. Either one is going to be doing pretty much everything you're going to need.
And we've got the YouTube channel, of course.
YouTube channel, yeah.
That's just there for when we put out a new trailer, yeah. But
yeah, that's pretty much all. Just if you just want to know what a trailer is, but you would, if we don't make a trailer, we sometimes make updates that are smaller updates, so you might not know that, like,
yeah,
1 point this is coming out. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you could join the Discord as well. That's in the Twitter bio, the link to that.
Yeah, we will have those links in the description
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
well for
And
anyone
then
who needs
of
them.
course, if you want to download, it's available N64 Vault or GitHub release page, or now smash64.online/remix.
Yeah, I was looking up the exact URL. That's why I was like, I paused for a minute. I was like, what was the
That's the one.
URL?
Yep.
Yeah, you
And
can. That's like the smoothest, like easiest way to patch on PC is smash64.online/remix. It has a built-in web patcher. All you need is your original legally acquired ROM. Then you patch it up. You're ready to go. If you want to play online, you can download the emulator from that website as well. It can sometimes be a bit finicky to set up, but hopefully it'll get up and running. You can play with other people. We do like tournaments when we're play testing, stuff like that, where we all get together on NetPlay and have sessions together, and it's a
yep.
lot of fun. So if you're
And
interested in playing Smash online, definitely check out that website for that as well.
and if you were to play it on original hardware, because I know a lot of people watching have N64s, some even have EverDrives. You just need, a flash cart of some kind and an expansion pack, correct?
Yep,
That's right.
That's it.
Expansion pack is necessary, as you'll see in every trailer video's name.
Yeah, please.
Really?
Why isn't it working, guys?
Expansion pack required is great. I feel like we don't meme on that enough. It's just like
Yeah.
it's just been there from the start, and it feels like an old friend at this point, you know.
Really.
Yeah.
Like it,
I mean,
I
it's kind of a joke, but it's also kind of serious because it's just
yeah,
like people wouldn't like you want to be able to point to the sign, be like, it's right there.
I
'Cause
feel
people
like
still screw it up.
by now, like we have the awareness, I think, that most
Yeah.
people know, and it doesn't need to be in the title, but it absolutely needed to be there originally. And the fact that it's
Yeah, for
just
Ganondorf. Yeah.
stayed the whole time, I love it. It makes me feel like I'm at home when I see that
It's a
title.
tradition.
Exactly, yeah.
Um, I guess at this point then, last words from each of you about the project, maybe where you see the future of the project going. I don't mean like who's the next character. I mean, what do you see in the future for this team and for this project?
It's something we kind of have discussed on and off, but haven't really, gone fully into it yet because we've just been focused on this patch cycle and getting things out. But obviously, you see there are at least 2 portrait slots there on that character select screen. Beyond that, it would be kind of a pain to add more in terms of like scaling and stuff. I mean, never say never, but we're gonna discuss that, and things might come to a wrap eventually because we got to move on at some point. It can't just go on forever. It's kind of TBD exactly where development is going to go from here. Uh, haven't got like a strict plan laid out or anything.
Sure, yeah. Break's important too. Take a break, please.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
against breaks personally. I like to keep going, but
Okay, I respect it.
no, breaks are fine. We'll take probably a little break, but
I'm the break taker around here. My workflow is like nothing for 3 weeks and then a whole bunch all at once. It's just
Beautiful.
kind of how I operate.
Spoken like a true procrastinator.
Yeah,
I'm good for that.
I know it pains Justin sometimes, but we
oh
get
yeah,
everything done in the end, one way or another. might might not always come as fast as everyone wants, but it's just how it is working
Yeah,
on stuff like this. I
so
think ultimately when you look at everything that we've done over the past few years, it's an insane amount in scope,
yeah,
and like we've kept up development pretty consistently across the whole time. Uh, I'm really happy with what we've done. I'm glad people love the project so much.
yeah.
Excited to
yeah.
keep going for now, anyway.
I'm excited for people to get
For
their
now,
hands on this latest release because I think it's massive. I think people are gonna love
Yeah,
it.
you'll see that in the trailer too. I know you haven't seen that yet because we're recording this a little bit before the patch actually comes out, but
Yeah,
that was a huge labor of love this time too, and everyone did a great job with their respective parts of that, and I think it came together in a really cool way. And I'm
yeah.
super stoked for people to see that too.
I'm
I'm
super
really
excited.
I'm interested to see people's reactions to Marina too, because she is one of those more obscure characters. There's gonna be a lot of
I'm
question marks in the chat, I reckon.
hoping for a lot of all caps who.
Yeah,
there's gonna be some anger.
Yes, that's always
but then
great.
like for the people who know her, they're gonna love it. I hope.
I think people who don't know her when they play as her will fall in love with her too. I think
Yeah,
that's kind of the hallmark of a great character inclusion.
that's the other thing too, right? Is because like Smash has done that before as well,
Yeah,
in terms of like introducing these more obscure characters, like Ness in this game,
And no one knew Ness.
Or ice
or like
You
climbers.
the
people knew
ice
Captain Falcon.
climbers. Yeah, and like Marth being that character from Fire
Mars.
Emblem
yeah,
that
Wasn't
wasn't
even
super
in
well known
America.
overseas.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't have it.
like
We didn't even have him.
I hope
Yeah.
that through the attention that we bring to this mod, that people out there have that same experience that that we had growing up of like, who is this character? I want to know more about who they are and what they're all about, and I'll go check out their game. And I hope people play Mischief Makers and that they like it.
I
I'm
hope we
certainly
play
going
Mischief
to.
Makers.
I promise I'll do it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I don't do a lot of single player games these days, but it's on my list. No worries there. I definitely want to give it a spin. Beyond just like booting it up to play around and see how the character like moves and animates and
Right.
the basics like that, which is like all I've done.
Well, on that note, I think that's a great note to wrap up on. Thank you all three of you for being here, Smash Father, Fray, and Sope, so much. We very much appreciate it. I hope everyone out there listening has a little better sense of what the project is about and some of the cool stuff that you can find when you grab it, and especially this latest release, which is available now. We'll have all the links in the description so that you can find everything you need for that. Um, Besides that, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you again soon.
Now
Goodbye,
go play
everybody.
some Smash Remix.
Now play some
The
Smash
Mischief
Remix.
Makers.
And this.